Alright then, so today we're going to talk about problem solving. So a very general workshop, we're not looking at any particular topic, but we are just looking at how we can apply some principles to help us solve these problems that we're going to encounter in our lives. Well, that sounds a bit general, the coding problems we're going to encounter in our lives, but that could be applied to other problems as well, the systematic approach, right? So one of the first things is take time to understand the question, right? I know it sounds obvious, you're probably fed up with people always telling you it, but it really does pay off in the long run. If you don't fully understand the question, then you can totally go off on a tangent and just use things that aren't relevant at all to the question. So let's take some time to do that now. I tend to break that down into a few steps as well. So as well as just sort of glancing over what the return values are and what our input values are, then of course read the question. So let's have a look today. So some of the most popular YouTubers have started to organize a series of coding challenge. We want to identify which ones have won at least one competition. So hopefully just after reading the question you start thinking about a few points, yeah? How do I identify who has won something? Yeah, how do I just isolate a YouTuber? Hopefully you've got lots of questions. If you do have any questions, I would just write them down in pseudocode, right? So, everyone know what pseudocode is? Is that a no? Yeah, it was a yes. Okay, cool. So in other words, just writing things out in the most comfortable language to yourself. It doesn't have to be a programming language. It can just be plain old English or a mix of coding languages and English or whatever other your preferred language is, yeah? So I know that at some stage I want to identify who is a winner. So I can just write it down. And if you're thinking, oh, this seems a really long-winded approach, we're doing it explicitly this time, right? So when you get good at solving problems, you'll do a lot of this internally and just run through those steps in your head. Yep, so make a note of anything that you think we might need. Any other questions that spring to mind? Yeah, how do we isolate a single YouTuber or something like that? Maybe loop over all YouTubers or something like that, yeah? So already thinking, or maybe I need some sort of loop or iterative method in there. But back to the start. First, I would look at what type of data do we have? Yeah, so I would definitely consider that to begin with. I'd definitely consider that we have an array input. And what are we outputting?
String.
Yeah, it looks like a list of strings, yeah? So, well, one string, yeah, but we've got sort of these comma-separated items in a string, yeah? So maybe output, we could say, is a list converted to a string. Yeah, we can leave it like that for now. So our input is an array, you're quite right, but an array of what?
Objects.
Array of objects, yeah, definitely. That have two properties, yeah. So just take time to really understand your data and really understand the question. Okay. So next, what would I probably do next? Well, we've looked at all our data types, we've looked at what sort of, if it's nested data, and then I want to see what we need to transform probably, yeah? So I think we've already suggested that because we've got an array, we need to identify a single YouTuber. So what sort of methods do you think we could get to either loop over our array or just extract data from one YouTuber? So again, we can just write this in pseudocode if we're not sure. So we could just loop over an array. and then identify who is a winner. Turn winners array into a list, into a string. Yeah, something like that. So I've identified some steps that I definitely need to do. I don't know how I'm going to do them yet, but that will come from either my coding knowledge, the people around me, or looking it up on YouTube or something. Yeah, looking it up on the web. So I would definitely take care of my syntax next, but don't get bogged down in your syntax. I would just structure it out so you've got enough syntax there that you're not going to get confused with all your curly braces and your brackets later. So at the moment, there's clearly an error straight away in my code. Yeah, there's this red underlined thing. So I would fix that first before trying to write my solution. Otherwise, I'll probably just forget about that silly little error at the start. So what do I need to do to fix this one? Just delete the function. We only need one function keyword. And at the moment, we've been given one argument. So we said that we've only got one argument, and it was an array. Does YouTubers fit that description? Yeah, I think that's fine, right? So I can leave that. I've already got my curly braces in place for my function. What else are we probably going to need for all functions that we want to return an output? Yeah, so let's put a return statement in there, yeah? And if you wanted, you can put it in brackets and just leave it like that. Okay. So I'm going to leave my input up there, just so I know what it is. Next, I guess we want to do something with that YouTuber's input. Yeah, so we said earlier that we want to loop over it. So do you want to put it in a separate variable for now, rather than doing it all in line? What would you prefer to do?
Create a variable for the string.
Create a variable for what, sorry?
Like an empty string, so when you call the variable, it'll be a string.
Okay, so you essentially want to... okay. So you're saying your final result you want to be a string, or you want to turn YouTubers into a string? What are you saying, Jack?
Oh no, the final result to be a string, not turn YouTubers into a string.
So how do you want to do that at the moment, or do you want to wait until you do that?
Can we...
I mean, I've already listed there that the output list needs to be converted to a string, so hopefully we won't forget about it. Yeah?
Can we make an array with only the ones that have position 1?
Yep, we can definitely try making an array with the ones that only have position 1.
Creating a variable with an array and then with four rows.
Okay, so we could say let winners equal something, yeah? So we want to loop over an array and create maybe a filtered list of only the winners who have position 1. Yeah, I like that approach. So how are we going to do that step? How are we going to loop over an array and create a filtered list of only the winners who have position 1?
Do it for loop.
Could
we do a filter?
Could do a for of loop, but I think really that there's an inbuilt method in JavaScript that is very well suited to this, yeah, and that is filter. Yeah, so I think we can do that straight away. So we're filtering YouTubers, right? We've got our full list and we want to filter our YouTubers. And we essentially want our YouTuber to equal, well, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do this yet, but YouTuber position equals 1 or something like that. Yeah. Oh.
Shouldn't it be an hour?
Yep. So then I'm just sort of doing pseudocode again at this stage, and then we can tidy it up into actual proper JavaScript syntax. You're saying this is actually a function, and then we want to check whether our YouTuber has position 1 somewhere. How would we check whether our YouTuber has position 1?
Use the find method. No, it's not.
So when you start writing these functions as well, be aware of what data you've got for each of your variables. So YouTuber was an array of objects. So that means when we iterate over our array, each YouTuber is
an object.
just an object. Yep.
Square brackets. Yeah, but
So we can definitely say,
Positions,
why will you
thank you.
right?
positions?
Yeah. So YouTuber dot positions is now going to access what? Yeah, this array. So we're accessing an array. So how are we going to test that our array has 1 inside of it? What was that, Kieran? Yeah, everyone hear that? So Kieran suggested includes, the method includes. And I agree with that, yeah. But even if you don't get to that stage straight away, it's just a good idea to write down the pseudocode, yeah? Like, I could have put YouTuber.positions has 1 inside. Yeah, and check or something like that, right? And I don't know how to do it at this stage, but I can probably look it up on YouTube or ask someone else in my team, and they'll say, oh, there's a method called includes. That would be really useful for this scenario, yeah? And Kieran was the guy today who suggested that. Yeah, so YouTuber.positions.includes. What are we looking to include?
1.
1, yeah, the position 1. Fantastic. Okay. So, if that was written correctly, what are we hoping to return from winners? What do we want winners to be?
An array of objects.
So winners should be correct, an array of objects, but how is that different from what we had to begin with?
Because it will output only the ones that have a 1.
Yeah, with only this time the winners in it, or however you want to phrase it, yeah? And then we probably want to return our if we look at our output value, I said turn winners array into a string, didn't I? Well, that's not strictly right, is it? Because the winners array will contain all of that data. Are we interested in the positions? No. So turn winners array into just the channel name and then into a string, right? See how we're breaking just everything down into small manageable steps. So if we wanted to create another variable, we could say let channel names equal winners. What do I want to do to my winners?
Dot positions.
So Seb is suggesting to do dot positions. What would that into.
That's just still the same one, isn't it? Because that's the. No, well, it's that the position of finishes.
So we've still got an array of objects. Look, at this stage, my comment, I've got an array of objects. Does the winners array have a positions property? No, definitely not. Right? There's no positions property directly inside of this array. It's contained inside of the object. So again, we need to loop over each item in the array to access the bit of data that we want. In this case, the channel. Yeah. So I'm going to use the word transform because whenever I see transform an array, I immediately think of a particular method.
Map.
That's the one I think of. Yeah, map. So winners.map, and we're mapping each YouTuber still into not the whole YouTuber, but just the YouTuber dot channel. So now we've just got out the name. So that's essentially that step. Space it out just so we know what bit was what. I haven't closed this up here, but that's why it's complaining. Just try and now intersperse my pseudocode with what we've done. So we looped over an array using filter in this case. And hopefully we returned an array of objects where only the winners are contained inside. We'll find out in a second. Then we transform the winners array into just the channel name. So what have we got now at this point? Still got an array, yeah. Array of what?
Channel names.
Array of channel names. So in other words, we haven't got an object anymore. We've just got string, comma, string, comma, string. Yeah. Array of channel names as strings. Cool. So that was up there, wasn't it? Create a filtered list of only the winners. What else have we got to do? We've identified who's a winner. Yeah.
You want to remove the array, can I make it just a string?
Yep. And then into a string. That's my last point. So how am I going to take channel names and turn it into a string?
Split.
Hold on, I'll just call that result.
What's that with the gather and sparse?
Could we rest and spread it? Not really. I don't think that's probably the best way to do it because usually we spread something into a container and we just want to spread this one into a string if you like, Seb. Yes, there's a different method usually for that. ToString might work, but not ideally.
Oh, two string. Oh, is it dot join?
Yeah, join, right? That's how we turn generally an array into a string. Yeah, we split it from a string into an array and we join it from an array into a string. So I would definitely use the join method.
So if we're using the join, so why didn't we kind of split it before then, using the split method?
We didn't have to because it was already an array. Yeah? So we can't split an array, Ed, yeah? And arrays are probably the most powerful data type in JavaScript. So if you've got an array, I would keep it as an array and do all your manipulations on that array first, and then convert it into the data type you need at the end. In this case, it's a string, yeah? So that's why we can join it. How do we want to join it? So with, whoops, what happened there? So with a comma and a space, right? Cool. And then I think that should
Then you just got return.
be it. And what are we missing?
Return set, you return the last variable.
Yep.
Count results.
And then return result. Now this isn't quite correct at the moment. The steps are correct, but we've just missed out a little bit of syntax that's going to not return what we want. So if I run this now, oh, interestingly we did get one correct because that's an empty string, fair enough. So in other words, we've joined nothing, so that's why we got an empty string. But can anyone spot what is wrong with that? I love the steps, I love the problem solving approach, yeah? We've said that we've got an input of objects, 2 properties. We've then looped over it using filter. So we end up with a filtered list stored in winners. We then take that filtered list and get just the bit of data that we're interested in from it, just the channel name. And then once we've got the data we're interested in, we turn it into the data type that we want, which in this case was a string.
Oh, we're missing semicolons, but that could be last 2 variables.
We are missing semicolons, but that wouldn't break our code. How about this line? Line 4. Missing anything? Return. We haven't returned anything, right? So we're not actually going to get anything back in our winners array.
We're missing a bracket at the end.
And are we missing a bracket at the end? Really? We've got
Oh, yeah, no.
one bracket. That closes there. Our curly brace seems to close as well. I think we're good. Shall I try it now?
So we're missing the names, to return the names, okay.
Still not. I'm just going to take out the comments now because I'm not sure. Our platform doesn't like comments too much. Let's see whether anything else. In fact, I'm going to leave the comments. Oh no, let's take them out and then I can undo them, right? And then we can talk through the steps again. And of course we can tidy this up at the end, but the first step is to work through the code as you're most comfortable, and then you can refactor it afterwards. Nope, so we have gone wrong. Let winners equals YouTube.filter. What do you mean that? Without a bracket? That should be fine.
That's fine, we need brackets with one for moments.
Nothing. Yeah? We're just not returning anything. We now have console.logs on the platform, so this is when we can practice debugging as well, right? See what we're getting out of our winners. Empty array, see? So there's something wrong. With winners. YouTuber dot
The one should be
position.
between square brackets, no?
No. Oh yeah, of course. It's because I was just doing a condition to begin with, right? Saying the whole YouTuber object, of course we don't want to be equal to either true or false, right? This will return either true or false, yeah? YouTuber.positions.includes 1. That, of course, is not ever going to be equal to the whole object, yeah? YouTuber is just the whole object. So if we get rid of that, and just return true or false from our include statement, our includes is doing the test for us, right? I don't need any comparison there. And now it works. So that was there as a pseudocode, yeah, and then I made the mistake of to show that I wanted to do some sort of comparison, some sort of test, and I made the mistake, unfortunately, of leaving it there, right?
What was the problem when you had it there, it was only returning true.
No, it was always returning false, so that's why we didn't have any winners. And it was returning false because YouTuber did not equal the true or false statement. Yeah? So YouTuber was the whole object. So what can we extract then from that example of the steps that you would usually follow?
Yeah, so I just noticed that we declared a lot of variables in this.
Yep, so I wouldn't usually do that, but this is an easier way to show the steps. We'll refactor it in a second if you want. No worries. So what steps did we use that you would find helpful in that? And we'll repeat it again for another question. Yeah. Pseudocode you found helpful?
I don't think any of us use it. I definitely don't use it all the time. Who's been using it? Anyone been using pseudo? Yeah, not like writing it down.
Not writing it down. Maybe you think it, right?
Yeah.
You think, oh, I need to loop over this.
I think you keep track probably of where you are and what you can constrain if you do have pseudo. Whereas sometimes when I'm answering the question, I'm like, did I cover that already or haven't?
Yeah. And I think without the pseudocode as well, you can easily lose track of what you've returned from one of these variables or what your filter is returning, right? So that's why I explicitly like to put, like on line 7, should be an array of objects with only the winners in it. And we actually found when we debugged it, it wasn't, right? It was just an array, which was good, but it had nothing in it, no winners. So therefore, straight away, we know the error is in that part of the code. If we fix that, the other parts may be correct. And that's when it is useful to break things up into separate variables. I wouldn't usually do that in production code, but if we've got separate variables and something is broken, I know it's within the winners variable, not the channel names and not the result, perhaps, yeah? Whereas if I'd just done return winners.filter.map.join and I get an error, is it in my filter, my map, my join? It's a bit harder to debug, yeah? We'll refactor this in a second, but there's nothing wrong with creating separate variables to begin with while you're learning these problems. And for the problem-solving approach, I think it works quite nicely. So what other steps, maybe even to begin with, before we even got to the pseudocode, were useful, do you think? So what other steps that we covered there were useful for you in breaking down the problem, even before you get to writing the pseudocode? What do we do before that?
Reading.
Obviously, yep, just reading the question and identifying primarily what the inputs and the outputs are, yeah? So our input was an array of objects. Our output in this case was a string that we could probably see contained data from a specific part of the object, yeah? It's not like we looked at that and thought, oh, where does PewDiePie come from? Is that just randomly picked out of the air? Oh no, look, it's up there. It's obviously come from the channel data. Yeah, so pattern sniffing, making those connections. Where does the output come from in relation to the input? Pattern sniffing, yeah, it's a big part of problem solving, yeah. Especially on the higher order functions that we might get a chance to look at for CATI, the patterns are one of the hardest aspects of that, right? To detect that pattern. They're more mathematical in nature, those questions, it seems.
I kind of like the layered approach. So we kind of created a variable to filter the list first, and then we now transform the list, and then we joined it, and then we produce the result. Okay.
Yeah.
I think going through this way through the solution, you tend to remember more as well. The solution approach.
It helps to really understand exactly what and why you're using each method, which I think is where the issue is when you go to intermediate.
Yeah.
If you're using methods but you don't really know what it's doing behind it.
For example, join method right now here. It said it's an array, you change the array into a string. If this join several times,
Yeah.
and this tail is really struggle with, which will
So often people struggle to think of what method to use, right, when they're trying to solve these problems. And as I said, if ever I say in my head or I write in the pseudocode, transform an array into, you know, another array that just has some slight difference but the same number of elements, then immediately I think of map now. Yeah, it's almost a direct one-to-one translation for me in my head now, right? Transform an array, map. Yeah, and the same thing you've just said with the string.
Transform an array into what though?
So transform an array into an array of the same length. Yeah, simple as that, because you can just write a function, a custom function. But especially if it's just properties of an object that you don't want all of them, you just want part of that, then it's definitely mapped, yeah, immediately. But that will come with time. And the same thing, right? If you want to create a filtered list that only has some of the elements of an array inside of a new array, then it's just got to be filtered, essentially, right? Sure, we could do it with some other sort of loop or even recursion, but filter is the most semantic one. It describes what you're doing to your data, yeah? Filtering an array.
Try another one.
Absolutely, yeah. Yes, I'm not even going to refactor that, right? We're just going to leave it because it's nice and clear of our steps that way. Okay, you want to do, yeah, quick one.
Platform. The other day I was looking for trainings that use particularly map and join split. And are there any exercises of that on JavaScript beginner, or because I couldn't find them and I don't know if there were or...
No, to my knowledge, you're right, we haven't got any beginner training on map, join or split explicitly. You will just need to use them in other contexts, but it's definitely something we can look at including in the future.
No, because for me in beginner it's really useful the hints that it's when linked to some resources.
Yeah, really good point.
And here I didn't, some of these for instance include, I didn't remember about that one, and I don't know if there's one that hints to, hey, read about this. I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure off the top of my head whether there's a direct link to the map documentation or the join documentation in one of our questions, but I think there probably will be. This one, guys, might be quite a good one because there's a little side effect or thing that you might not consider with this one.
Yeah.
So the last two questions are strings we can quickly look at. And yeah, let's just try and follow a similar approach. Yes, so firstly, our input this time is definitely a string. Can we go a bit further in detail that? It's a string of...
We need to read it first, right?
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, let's read the question. That's simple. How many capital letters does each sentence have? Please assume the strings are built just based on letters, right? So be aware that if you had a more complicated function with numerics, symbols in, the function you write here may not work, and you need to consider additional things. But this is a good first step. All right. So yeah, we've just got to count how many capital letters it has. So we can clearly see there that we've got one capital letter, and our output is the number 1. Yeah, 3 capital letters, output number 3. Yes, we're doing a little bit of easy pattern sniffing now, right? We're looking at our sentence, seeing how many capitals it's got. I count 1, 2, 3, 4. That seems to match up. So the idea I've got in my head of the question, what it's asking, I think is correct. Yeah, for all 3 test cases, the pattern that I assumed works. So I think I'm ready to proceed with actually trying to solve this question. Yeah. Are other people at the same stage? Yeah, we're happy with that?
Yeah.
Cool. So our input is a string of, I would say, words or a sentence. Say what?
No, what's good?
Yep. String of words both capitals and lower case, yeah? So we can be quite explicit there. In the end, we want to return a number. That represents the number, believe it or not, of capitals. Capitals. Still got it wrong. I'm going to give up a minute. In the words. Okay. So, we've considered inputs and outputs a little bit. What would you do next, perhaps?
It's a good idea to break the sentence into words.
Into characters, split it.
Okay, so we're suggesting split the words into individual characters. I like that. Do you want to do that bit first, or should we carry on with what else we need to do?
Let's try to analyze more.
Okay, let's analyze more. So once we've got individual characters,
We need to store it into writing, right? So that we can count how many capitals.
individual chars stored in a variable, then what?
Then we display the length of that word. So that if it's one
But
letter,
we've just split it into characters at the moment, so we've got all the characters.
Filter by characters to uppercase.
Okay, so then filter out all lowercase characters. Something like that? Is that right, Jack? Yeah?
Yeah,
Or the other way around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, something like character equals character to uppercase.
Okay, so Seb's already thinking how he can do that in his head. He's saying, oh, do something like character equals character to uppercase or to lowercase. So nice. Yeah, that's definitely what we're gonna be writing something like that in a second.
Okay.
So once we have filtered them all out, how might we return a number that represents number of capitals in the word? So possibly we've got things like length property to filter out all the lowercase characters. We've maybe got something like filter again, and then Seb's saying the comparison with to uppercase. Yes, we're already thinking about what methods we might be able to use to solve this problem as well. That's great. How are we going to split the words into individual characters? Split? Yeah, that works. See, some of these methods are actually quite well named in JavaScript. Some of them aren't, but others are not too bad, yeah? So split string into, but then what? If we use split, what are we going to end up with? So now we've got an array of characters, yeah? But that actually works quite well, because we were talking about filter down here, which is an array method. So this is all right. This is all right. We can proceed along that line, along those lines. Okay.
every time you use split,
Mm-hmm.
it turns whatever you split it into an array, right?
Yep. Split only returns an array. Yes. Anything else we need to consider for now, or shall we proceed and see what happens?
The only thing you need to worry about is at the end, you need to make it everything.
Make it what? At the end? No? Shall we proceed for now, and then we'll come back if we get stuck, yeah? So the first bit. How many arguments have we got? We didn't actually say that, right? We just said a string of words, so I assume that means one, right? Because I've used singular. Have we included that in our function anywhere?
We add it to the argument.
Okay, so could I call it sentence, or you want words? Yeah? Okay, then we said split the words into individual characters. So, let chars, yeah, because Ahmed wanted to store it in a variable. Let chars equals what?
Sentence dot space.
Nice. So we can split our sentence. And how are we splitting it?
Inverted comma, quotes, yeah.
Single quotes with no spaces will give us just each character, yeah? Which is what we said we wanted. Okay.
Close semicolon.
Yeah. So that has done,
All three.
yeah, essentially, right? So let me put that one up there because that was just our input. If I do it this way around, then I can have the comment for what we want to do above, and then what we've got below. Yes, we now have an array of characters stored in a variable. Yeah, stored in a variable. Okay. Next bit, we said then filter out all the lowercase characters. So maybe we might need to break this down into multiple steps as we go, but let's see how we can proceed. So I'm going to call it capitals. Let capitals equals. What are we going to filter? Charles.filter. Nice. And you're saying we're doing some sort of comparison with what, Jack?
Sorry, Charles, no, CAR during the single.
Okay, so we've just got our singular character now, yeah? And you're comparing it to the uppercase one. So if that's true, what will happen?
We will return all the capital letters and store in the capitals, right?
Nice, yeah? So if inner filter function is true, the uppercase char gets stored in a new array inside the capitals variable, yeah? So we said let capitals equals chars.filter each character, if it's uppercase, if it's identical to its uppercase character, then we include it in the array that is stored in capitals variable. Okay, I'm fairly happy with that. Any problems anyone sees, or it looks alright?
Sorry, if we do the triple equals, won't it happen the same it happened before, that it will return false? Because not all of them are...
No, so this time we actually want to compare what each element in the array is to a transformed version of the element in the array. Whereas before we had a whole object and we didn't want to compare that whole object to our includes. So we had an object equals true or false, which was nonsense, right, in the past one. So this time, no, we actually do need to do our comparison on our character. I hope you can see the difference. If not, you might have to watch the video again or do those two questions again. Yeah. Cool.
I think all we have left is return capitals and then,
But
isn't it?
don't we have to put an arrow function inside the
You
filter?
don't have to.
Yeah, you do.
Yep, we definitely have to do that though. So filter takes a function, yeah? So we must put our character and return the result that is true or false, yeah? Absolutely. And then we're going to try dot length to return the length of our array. It won't be right in all cases, maybe not even any cases, I don't think, but I think we're going to get a number back, hopefully, and then we can see why. Yes. Ooh, so now we definitely need to do a bit of patting sniffing to determine what is wrong. So the people that have done this question before, remember now. Oh, hang on. So can one of you explain why we're returning 4 instead of 1 in this first case? Speak up a bit, Kieran, so everyone can hear, please. It's including spaces in the array. Why is it including spaces?
Because you split it in different characters, which includes the spaces basically, so that you know.
So what did we do? Let's have a look. All right, we can debug it now at each step. So let's do console.log. So if we didn't realise that it was including the spaces, we could have done something like this. Sorry, I should have tidied it up. But can you see on the information we've got jQuery, and then there's this quote with an empty space inside, yeah, with a space inside. So in other words, our array definitely contains our spaces characters. Yeah, white space characters are still characters.
So the reason we get 4 is the key, which is capital plus 3 spaces.
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. So the reason we're getting 4 is we've got 1 capital plus 3 spaces. Why does it not discount the spaces? Well, for that we have to consider this line. When we're considering a space, what's the value of the character?
Empty string?
It's not an empty string, is it?
Oh,
It's an actual space, yeah? So the character is a space. What is space to uppercase?
space.
Still a space. Yeah, there is no uppercase or lowercase space, it is just a space. So this is a little gotcha, yeah? So if you forget to account for the white space characters, then you will be including them in your filtered array, and therefore when you return the length, you're getting the uppercase characters plus how many spaces there are. 1 uppercase plus 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3 uppercase plus 1 space. 4. What's the pattern in this one? 4 uppercase, how many spaces? 3, get 7. So that seems to have followed our pattern of what we thought was wrong. So we found the problem. How do we fix it? That's the next part, right?
I think where the sentence does splits.
Mm.
Make it a space, split on the spaces.
Can you say minus the spaces?
Can we say minus? Essentially, that's what we want to do, right? We want chars minus spaces, something like that, yeah? Still in an array, right? So we can filter it afterwards. How do we remove?
Can we use a filter that instead of equals will be different to space?
Can we use a filter and say if it's a character to an uppercase and not a space? Is that what you want to do?
No, to make another variable that is capitals. That it will be, I don't know.
Okay, so you're saying let no white space or no spaces, something like that.
That
Equal.
would be capitals dot filter.
I'm thinking, should we not be using join?
Yeah.
Don't join up this bit.
You want to do a join on capitals or where? There's lots and lots of different ways. I can think of at least 4 different ways, right, to do this. So let's try and roll with one way. Can we go with Seb's way first? And then we can look at other solutions if you want. So Seb says we want to filter again. Yeah, filter first. Is that what you're saying, Seb? Or not?
Yeah, or after let capitals.
After let capitals now. Okay. So firstly, we've filtered out all the lowercase ones. Now you want to filter out the spaces?
Yes, if that's
Yeah. So I'm going to call it no spaces again, if that's all right. And this time capitals dot filter. You can see the logic at least though, guys. The rest of you, yeah? And we're still going to be going over each char. So how do I then filter out the ones
Instead of equal, exclamation mark,
equal to
a space.
space? Okay.
I don't know if that works. But and then return no spaces dot length at the end of.
And then return,
Instead of
no spaces dot length. Okay, I'm following that logic. Should work, right?
I don't know.
Yeah? So that works. Yeah?
It looks like a long way.
It does look like a little bit of a long way. So we've called filter twice, which is not very performant. We've looped over all the characters once, and then we've looped over all the remaining characters again. So why can't we combine these two conditions? Filter, yeah, and then just put an and, right? And where's my and gone? There we go. I think I'm probably going to have to drop it down a line just to avoid the elegance penalties. And something like that. Does it still work? If I get rid of this one.
And return capitals.
My double click seems to not be working. Confetti time still, right? So we could combine them into our filter. Combine both statements into our filter. So that's pretty nice. It's quite a nice solution there. Yeah? And you see the approach is very similar to what we did last time, and hopefully that is nicely structured for you and easy to understand. Yeah? Yeah. I mean, the one that people struggle on a bit was question 5 of strings. So we can either do that one or we can do a higher order function one as well, the last one of that.
I have a question for
Yeah,
this.
question first.
So we cannot use join in this because you can.
Could we use join? So if we joined it, we would join it into a string. And you still want a number at the end of it, so you'd still have to just do the length of the string. So you're performing one extra operation to me that is not needed, but it would still work. But we don't want a string in the end, do we? So why convert it to a string? Yeah, we just get the length directly from the array. Yeah. Let's do that one. Yeah. So do you want to do this question, or you want to do a higher order function question? You happy with that, Ed? Yeah, sure. Okay. Whew. So we don't get much instruction here. We want to strip out some characters of the given string. Right. So probably we have to do a little bit of pattern sniffing first. What are our inputs? A string and an array of characters, we could say, yeah? What's our output? What's the relationship between our inputs and our outputs? It's definitely a string, yeah, but what's the relationship between them?
That doesn't contain the.
No, the information from the array can pull out both strings.
Nice. So our return string is the same as our first string without any of the characters that are included in the array, you see? So that's got a hash and exclamation mark in it to begin with, and all the hashes and the exclamation marks have been removed. This one's got hashes, exclamation marks, says remove the question mark. Well, there are no question marks, so it's just the same. Yeah, so that I think that pattern holds, right? Just strip out any of the characters that are in the array from the original string to get our result. So even though the instructions weren't that detailed, just from looking at the inputs and the outputs, we should be able to pattern sniff and work out what we want to return. Yeah? So I know you say, oh, on the React training, there's not much instructional, there's not much telling you what to do, but just from the inputs and the outputs, most of the time we should be able to work out what we need to do. And of course from the test cases as well in the React training, yeah, the written tests. Okay, so does anyone want to start me off in terms of pseudocode or anything they want to add to this function?
You have the argument.
Add the arguments, cool. What would you call them, Ed?
String or character.
Definitely 2 arguments, yep, so be aware of that. First one is?
String.
Yeah, sure.
Blacklist.
Blacklists, yeah, I quite like blacklists. So we're not allowed any of these things, they're on the blacklist. I'm also going to put blacklist array, just so I definitely know it's an array. String I'm not too happy about, but I don't really know what to call it. String chars, I don't know. Yeah, something like that.
You need to declare a variable.
You want to declare a variable first? That would be the first thing you do, or would you write maybe down some pseudocode or steps that you want to follow first? Yeah, I think let's just write down a few steps. Maybe we'll get more confident in this process, so we're going to write down less steps.
So split it, yeah. Split it into the individual characters.
So you want to split string chars, just so I don't type things wrong. I'll do that at the end. Split string chars into single jars. Yeah. Okay. Filter string chars based on the blacklist.
And then you need obviously join them.
At the end, yeah. Join filtered array back into string. Yeah. That's mainly it, right? 3 macro steps.
Sorry, this join, is it not already a string? We still need to come. It's already, I mean, when we filter out the blacklist, we still need to join it again. Because it's already a string already.
Yeah, but when we split the string characters into single characters, we're going to have to turn it into an array, aren't we? Yeah. And then we filter it and we've still got an array, so therefore at the end we're going to need to turn it back into a string. Yep. Alright.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean we might add some extra steps to this. I guess this is going to be the most complicated part, right? So you might think of some additional steps here. As Ricardo's not here, we can do that bit for him, right? It's the meat of the function, the chicken. So make sure you break it down into some extra steps if you need. The first step, I think, is quite familiar to us. Yeah, so again, we can just do let chars equal, and you'll find this again and again. You'll reuse certain patterns when you're solving problems, yeah? Splitting it into an array of characters. How do we do that? Split what? Empty string. Awesome. Then you say we want to filter. So let filtered equals chars.filter. Taking each individual character and doing something with it. Char. Unfiltered at the moment, yeah. So I'm still puzzling over that one. I'll let my subconscious try and solve that while I finish the last bit. So then we've got return filtered dot join, right? So hopefully we know that we've begun with our inputs and we've ended with our string. So filtered dot join. How do we want to join it? Well, it looks like there's nothing between, so I just put an empty string. What was your question, Ahmed?
Should we not say
Yeah, so we haven't done this bit yet, right? We've just sort of set it up, ready to write our logic. You want to filter the character.
The characters, yeah, not the letters, but the hash and the exclamation marks, question marks. That's the only three we have there. Exclamation mark, hashtag, and question mark. That's all we got.
Yeah.
I think it's listed those ones. Or there's
But they're given to us, right? They're stored in the blacklist array. We don't know what this blacklist is going to be. It might be 20 different characters in one of the lists, yeah? These are just simpler examples, but we might want to exclude all 20 types of characters. Certain numbers, certain letters, certain symbols. Yeah, we just don't know. So we've got to take our input that's given to us and filter it out based on that input.
Can we use something like char not equal and something with blacklist and include?
Char not equal blacklist include. So we're forming some sort of ideas, yeah? We know we've got to use the blacklist. We think maybe we can use this include method somehow, right? That used to return true or false in a previous question. It probably still does now. Yeah, so how can we put these together into meaningful syntax?
Would you not equal to car dot includes blacklist?
Say that one more time, Jack, just so I get the order correct. The function is
car, C-H-A-R.
Yeah.
Dot includes.
Dot includes. What does it include?
Blacklist array.
Blacklist array. Can we pass in an array to includes? Will it understand that? It will look for the whole array, right? Rather than the elements inside that array if we do it. So what did you want to do? Like do one for 0, then do one for... Yeah? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
I think
Let me just tidy up. Have a think of how you want to solve this problem.
But are those the ones we want the filter to pick?
That's another question, yeah. Do we want them to pick those ones or exclude those ones?
let's exclude those ones.
Exclude them, but
We shouldn't include it.
but we can easily change whether we exclude something or include it by using what operator? Yeah, by using the not operator in JavaScript, right? So we can just flip what we include and what we exclude quite easily. So let's just get it one way around first.
I think we just ignore it completely.
So that was essentially Jack's suggestion, right? Except we were returning that. Do we think that will work? Do you want to run it and see what we get?
There's the error, the other return at the bottom.
I don't think.
That's only because I've done that.
Return undefined.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to have an empty array, that, and then we're going to filter, we're going to join an empty array, so we'll end up with an empty string. Because
Char dot includes, right?
yeah,
And not equals to blacklist.
and not equals to blacklist.
Yeah, if you do that.
Yeah, that's literally the exclamation mark.
That's the reason I'm solving the problem. That's what he said. So let's focus now. That will be it.
Yeah, so at the moment, yeah, so that's interesting that one worked, right? I didn't actually expect it to work when it's just got one element in.
But it doesn't work when it's sent.
but it doesn't work when it's empty. So let's see what filtered is returning. It's just a small change you need to do, yeah? It's just got one thing the wrong way around.
Oh, blackness array dot includes chart.
Yeah, Jack.
I hate the includes method. Doesn't make any sense.
ABC.
Why does this method go so cheap?
I can't quite understand that, to be honest.
Do you only flip it because blacklist array is obviously an array? You can't include it to work that method, or is there any other reason behind it?
No, you just flip it because you can use includes on an array,
Yeah.
but to pass an array as an argument to includes is just a bit weird, really. It's not the way it was designed to be used. So, yeah, if you do it that way, you're saying, does an array include a specific character? If it does, then exclude that character because you've got a not there, all right? So if A matches exclamation mark, exclude it. So if A doesn't match exclamation mark, include it, right? If exclamation mark doesn't match exclamation mark, include it. So we don't include it. Yeah, it's a bit hard with the not operator, but I hope you get the idea. So that's what that line is saying.
I thought that if we put blacklist array, it would just, even if you put the not, just give things that it has inside. That's what I thought.
Well, it's only ever going to return a character. Yeah, it can't return things from the blacklist array directly because you're filtering your chars list. So it has to be there to be either included or not. Yeah, and then you're including it or not based on whether your blacklist includes the character.
Because we are filtering cars. Okay.
Because you are filtering your chars, yeah. If it's still not very clear, then you just need to look up the includes method, right? Just to understand that a little bit more. And again, you can break that down into what includes. Oops, just come out a bit further. What includes can take as arguments. Oh wow, actually return something JavaScript from a very generic search, which it never does for me. You see how we're often using it? Array.includes number or array.includes character. We're not doing character.includes array. Yeah? Maybe you are thinking of string includes as well, yes? It's one of those methods where we've also got a string method called includes. But how do we use that? We send it a string, right? We don't send it an array. Yeah, so try and put primitive values inside of your include statement, not complex values like objects or arrays. Yeah, otherwise you're going to get some strange behavior. Make sense? Sort of. We spent a lot of time. We can do one more if you wish, but if not, I'm happy to let you just practice this in your own time. One more for Ed. Anyone else for one more or not? Or would you rather crack on? Kathy, did you want to do a higher order function one? I don't mind. Yeah.
Maybe something on object or something?
Kathy's already requested. Sorry, Ed. So we can do one more. I'll give you that concession, but we're going to go with Kathy's thing. Yeah.
No, you can do objects.
Oh, you want to do objects? Okay.
Yeah, I don't mind the number 5.
Number 5 on objects. Okay. Number 5. This one. Skip. Alright, so we have get unique celebrity props. A few instructions on this one. So I'm not going to do much this time, you're going to tell me what to do. Tell me what steps. Or Ed, do you want to come up and type? You want to come and type for this one, Ed?
Asking everybody?
Yeah, you can ask everyone and come type. And yeah, good man. You can have Seb one side and me the other. You didn't bring your comfy chair, you right?
Oh! This is.
You want it?
No. I mean, I'm just here temporarily.
Yeah.
Okie dokie. So
You want to come out of the Zoom?
yeah.
Oops. It's Control Shift and minus if you want to come out of the Zoom, but then people won't be able to see very well, right? Because that's the normal view.
Okay, so Control Z, right?
Control Shift plus to zoom in and out, right? And then you
Okay.
just go where you want. I'll be the mouse for you, and you can just type.
All right. So what should we do first? I mean, let's try and understand the question first of all. I think that's the most important thing. So we are building a movie database, and we want to check that celebrity data model is consistent across actors, directors, etc. To do so, we want to check whether all the props of a reference star A are present on another one B. A couple of details. The algorithm is unidirectional, so we shouldn't report any prop on B not present on A. If all the props are reported, just return an empty array.
Oof.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is a mouthful.
Oh. So if we look at some of the what we have here, so we've got what do we have? I think we've got what data type? Yeah, object. Yeah.
One object, two object. What we got?
I think we with two objects. Yep.
Two objects. Yeah. So when it referred to reference star A and reference star B, then we could call the first object A, the second one B. Right.
Okay, and the output is what? It's an array.
And the output, yep, definitely, I agree with that. It's an array. So, what does that contain, though? That array?
It's an array of a string of array, or of an array of string.
But why last name? Why not first name? Why not empty array? What's the pattern again? We were given some clues as to the pattern down here.
That it's not on B, but it's on A.
It's a value that is not on B, that it's on A. Fantastic, Seb. Yep. So last name is on A, but not on B. Last name is on B, but not on A, but therefore we don't return that. We're just interested in, are there any unique props on A? And there are no unique props on A, right? First name is on both A and B. Here, first name is on A and B, so we don't include that. Last name, is it on B?
No.
Nope, so we include it. Age, is it on B? No, so we include it. So do we understand the problem now? Yeah, if we've got a prop on A that isn't on B, we want to return it in an array. I don't know why Ricardo didn't say that, but I guess he is just testing you to read the question. It makes sense what he's put, definitely. Good stuff. So maybe now you might want to come over here.
Yeah, so we need to declare a variable first, I guess. So I think what we need to do is this thing.
Where do you want to go with?
Here.
Yeah, so just click on there.
So we need to, how many arguments? Is it 2, right?
2 arguments.
So
Up to the first and second page. Just
Try and use the keyboard once you're over there. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and then what else? We need to declare a variable. So what do we need to do first of all, actually? What kind of method are we going to use to...
I think we need to access the properties in some way,
Yeah,
right? Of at least one of the objects. Because that's what we're most interested in. So maybe even just write that as pseudocode for now. Access the properties of what? Object A, object B? Does it matter?
Actually, both.
Both, yeah, okay.
Yeah. On A and check if it exists on B.
Okay.
Comment that on.
Should we have that as two separate steps, do you think? Or can we do that all in one? Yeah, let's have two separate steps at this stage, Ed, while we're building it out.
Okay.
So first we need to access the properties on A and B, and then check if the properties of one exist on the other. Where do you want? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Check. So then you want to check if the A prop exists on B. That's alright, it's only pseudocode, it doesn't matter. Okay, something like that. And at the end, what were we returning?
A string.
String.
Return a string of the unique property within the object A.
Cool.
With the key, right? With the key.
Return a property of what again?
A string.
So return a string of the unique props on A. Yeah, something like that.
So a string of the unique property key.
The unique props. Alright, that's our three main steps, I think. Should we have a go at padding those out, writing some code?
Okay, so what name should we give this? What good name?
A and B.
Nah, that's not good.
It's quicker.
It will work for now, but I mean, what are they? They're actually players? Celebrities. So we can have celebrity A and celebrity B, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Compromise.
Yeah, okay.
Need
No.
comma as an argument.
Okay. And then we need to access the property of A.
Yeah, come on guys, how do we access the properties of an object? Object keys, yeah, absolutely. Yep, create a variable and store the keys inside. So keys and properties, they're interchangeable, right? This word is interchangeable when talking about objects. setting. Yeah. So what we're using? Objects dot keys. Any corrections, guys? Is it objects?
No, sorry, it's object. Yeah.
Objects, yeah. Object dot keys. And then what do we pass into the object dot keys method?
And then we need to pass in. We need to make it dynamic.
Yeah, definitely make it dynamic. So what goes inside? Yeah, helping out, guys. Yep, celebrity A. I do. Yeah. Anything else wrong?
Need celebrity A.
Yep, definitely celebrity A. Square brackets, okay? No, it's a method, right? So just normal parentheses.
Okay.
Sure, it's a curly. Yeah.
Yep.
Alright. So we could call these something like A props, could we? Yeah. And you want to do the same for B, maybe? I think this was Seb's original suggestion, yeah?
2 variables, huh?
Yeah. Was to do the same now for B. Not saying we have to do it this way, but it's one approach, yeah? Oops. You put a B up there, could you?
Yeah. Yep.
So let B props, so rather than A.
Where?
Yep, there.
Okay.
There. You're on it.
All right. Yep.
Cool. Check if the prop A exists in B. How are we going to do that then?
Sorry, those variables would be in this case.
Yep, so what does object.keys return then, guys? Do we know?
It returns the key.
It returns the key.
It
which
does return the keys, but in what data type?
is
Most people said string. It's not a string. So A props is not going to be a string. It's going to be an array of strings, yeah? Array of strings, Caddy, yeah. Nice. Well, it could be one string. I don't know how many properties it's got, but that will always return an array.
When you use the filter method.
Okay, so
And now we can do something similar to the previous exercise because we have two arrays. Right?
yeah, so now we can do something similar.
So do we need to? Wait a minute. Okay.
I create a new variable.
We've created 2 variables, and then for something similar, do we need to split anything?
No. Oh, you can filter.
Yeah. Okay. So we
What's on
filter.
A?
Okay. So.
So left filtered props.
Equals
A props. Dot filter.
So how are we going to filter this then?
Oh.
And you
A
can
oh,
put
sorry.
Yeah.
Arrow function. Return.
So it's very similar, in fact, isn't it? Yeah,
B-
to the last
B
one we did.
prop.
New return.
Oh, sorry. Before we even get here, do we need another? Okay. Yep.
Someone said B props, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, B props. What are we doing with B props?
Dot includes.
B props dot includes. Could work, yeah. We're really using the includes method today. I think this has almost been a workshop on includes.
Props.
Vanilla.
And it's
Ahmed's always in there with the spelling errors, right, Ahmed?
Oh, there.
Don't worry, we'll come back to it.
Yeah, we can come back to it if we need.
Okay.
So we're doing the whole array, right? So it's B props. Oops.
Okay.
And then dot includes with an S as well. What does it include? A prop, yep, singular. Right.
And then you should negate that, right?
Is it that way around? I haven't even thought about that yet. So B prop dot includes A prop. So if it's in both, then we negate it. You're correct. Yep. So let's negate that. So then our filtered list hopefully now is just going to contain the unique props, right? Or do we need to do anything else?
That would just be returned.
But what did we want to return? Did we want to return an array?
Oh, string.
Yeah, we've got to return a string, right? That was our last little pseudocode that we wrote.
Oh, split.
What?
Join, isn't it?
Join, yeah, nice
Yeah.
one, Ed.
Filter.
Filtered.join. How are we joining it? I can't remember. I'd have to look at
Yeah.
the thing the other side.
No, you're right on that. Return is there. Filter was correct, the return is incorrect.
And you have a name over there.
That was
Okay, how do we need to join it? Let's have a look. Like this, right? So a comma and a
comma.
space. One second. Yeah. You lost it. You got it. Yeah.
Single quote and then
That's it. And then comma space. Okay. Will that return an empty array if we have nothing there?
no, you need to write the difference.
Yeah. So we need a conditional as well. But should we test this bit first, just
Yeah, we
to
should test
make
this
sure
one
we're on
first.
the right track? Ooh. So you returned
Last
name. Oh, we didn't need a string, did we? We needed an array of strings.
Okay.
Oh.
So in other words, we don't
Filtered and then did it turn it operator.
we don't need to join it. That's it, right?
No ternary operator.
No ternary operator needed. Easier than we thought. Yeah, we thought
Yeah.
question 5. Well, usually this takes us 5 days to get one intermediate question. Or 5 hours, wasn't it? I think sometimes that people have been spending. But which is fine, right? Because this is problem solving. So problem solving can take a long, long time. And especially when you come across your apps and your projects, then you're going to have
You
to
got
problem
it.
solve a bit. But hopefully the steps that we've done today, laying it out like that,
Yeah.
becomes a bit clearer. And of course, if you were confident then with your code, we don't have to create separate variables all the time. We could easily just straight away return there, couldn't we? And get rid of the filtered and just return it like that. Yeah, and that should do the same. Yeah, so if you don't want to create variables all the time, or you want to tidy up your code a bit, then of course you can do that.
Okay, yeah.
So that wasn't too bad at all, that one, right?
Yeah.
Four lines of code essentially, and then we solved that one.
Now we're returning the result.
You're just returning the result of the filter function, which is what you previously had stored in a variable called filtered.
That's it.
That's it, yeah.
So intermediate is not so hard after all.
No, it's not so hard after all. Well, I hope now you can see the ways that you can approach some of these problems, and it seems a bit easier to you, yeah?
Yeah.
Thanks for your help, Ed, and I know it's not easy on someone else's computer and stuff, so I appreciate you coming up.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Well done.
Thank you.
But I think we'll leave it there now, right? One more, he says. It's been good? Alright, thanks a lot guys. I'll stop streaming. It was a long one, but worth it I think. Cheers.